All right, friends, it's the day after Christmas. Merry Christmas to you all. And it just struck me here this morning that it has been a few weeks since we've done a freeze-dried meal review. And so, well, it just so happens last week, I was in REI shopping for a bunch of stuff in there and came across a whole new, actually I picked up a whole new bunch of different flavors that I have not even heard of and sound pretty promising. Starting off with this one. This is Kung Pao Beef, and this is by AlpineAire. You may recall, a couple months back we did a review of one of their meals here. But anyways, this sounds, Kung Pao Beef, come on, seriously. This is as you may know, this is a Chinese dish that originates way back in the day in the Sichuan province, known for its bold and spicy flavors, which of course they say bold, spicy, sweet sauce paired with beef, peppers, and rice. Now, the interesting thing about Kung Pao Beef is the dish, I mentioned a moment ago, this dates back, this is jumping way back in the Wayback Machine, but the dish itself actually originates after a Ding Baozhen, a Qing dynasty official who held the title Gung Bao, which is sometimes translated or transliterated, if I can get that right, to Kung Pao. Interesting, but anyways, I digress. Let's get over to the ingredients. Typically, how this stuff is made, or Kung Pao beef, is typically consists of diced or sliced marinated beef, peanuts, you have vegetables like bell peppers, onions, and sometimes zucchini itself.
Delicious.
Then you have, when you think about it, the backbone, the hallmark of Kung Pao beef is its spicy flavor, which is often achieved from the Sichuan peppercorns.
Spicy.
And dried chili peppers. Now, looking over the ingredients, which I will show on the page here, I didn't see any of the Sichuan peppers, but I did see some of the other ingredients in there. Now, often case as well, the sweet and spicy sauce used in Kung Pao beef is a combination of savory, sweet spice elements, usually featuring ingredients like soy sauce, sugar, vinegar, and the chili paste. Now, I did find many of those. So really, I just didn't see the Sichuan peppers in here. So it's going to be interesting how we achieve, or how bold and spicy that the AlpineAire's version of this is going to be. But let's take a step back here. This is the first sort of video of this nature that you're watching here. Let me get you up to speed as far as what's going to happen. In a moment, I'm going to read over the packaging here. We're going to cover some of the how you make it and some of the nutritional facts about this. Then we're gonna crack this open. We're gonna do a smell test. We're then going to put it back in here. We're gonna make it and cook it and all that other fun stuff. And then we're gonna dive into it. And again, we're gonna look at visual. We're gonna look at scent. I'm gonna share with you as much as I can about this experience. You may agree, you may not, but ultimately, at the end of the day, if you make your way down to REI or wherever the hell you can pick this, I didn't even check whether this was on Amazon or not. But you pick up the Kung Pao beef from AlpineAire, you're going to have a good idea of what your money's going to get. Now, with that said, let's take a look at the packaging here. So, as we can see with the packaging here, you have 670 calories per package here, 32 grams of protein, which is really nice. And the interesting thing that I noticed last time off the AlpineAire packaging here, you have this tape measure, or this ruler on the side here, which I thought was pretty cool. Those of you that know what gluten is, this says it's gluten-free and 0 trans fats on the front. Okay, flipping this over, let's see, where is the expiration date on here? Okay, so this is good till November of 2027, so roughly about a 5-year shelf life on here. Now, all of these things are generally cooked the same way. You're going to open a pouch, remove the oxygen absorber. You're going to prepare the pouch or other suitable container. Prepare in pouch or other. Okay, so they're actually telling us you can make this in another suitable container. So I suspect something small with a lid that you can close it. We're going to have 2 cups of boiling water, which we have right here. Stir thoroughly. Seal pouch and cover. Let it sit for 10 to 11 minutes. So again, they're pretty much all the same. You remove the oxygen absorber, add whatever water that they call for, stir it up. Sometimes they will have you cook it for a few minutes and then stir it back up and let it set for another X amount of time. This one is right here, 10 to 11 minutes or 12 minutes. I seem to recall last one that we cooked with these guys, it called for 12 minutes. We let it set for a little bit longer and it still felt that it needed to cook a little bit longer. So we may follow that with this one as well. We'll see. But anyways, let's talk about the nutritional facts here. So this is a 2-serving package here. Now, as I always say, if you are sharing this with somebody, obviously just reference the single serving there. If you are like me and you're going to eat the entire thing, boom, there you go. So total fat, we have 16 grams. Again, we have a total of 670 calories, which I mentioned earlier. Trans fats, we have 4.5 grams. I'm sorry, that's saturated fat rather, 4.5 grams. Trans fat is 0 grams. Cholesterol, 40 milligrams. The sodium is 1730. Okay, so this is quite heavy on the sodium. Total carbohydrates, 47 grams. Dietary fiber, 5 grams. Total sugars, 16 grams. Included added sugars, 1 gram. Protein, as I mentioned earlier, is 32 grams. Now, there are some other items down here which I will not going to cover, but I will leave on the page here so you can see. Those of you that want to pause the video and take a look at all the ingredients in here, for what it's worth, because I make a special note of it, this does contain soy and peanuts. So if you are allergic to either one of those, this is not something that you should run out and pick up. But at any rate, let's, anything else noteworthy on this package? No. So let's crack this thing open and have our initial sniff test. Okay, so as always with a meal like this, oh, look at that. All the seasonings like stuck to the oxygen absorber there. Okay. Let's wipe that off. Here is the oxygen absorber, if I can talk correctly here today. So it smells like there's a lot of seasoning going on here. Let's pour it in here, take a look at what we are looking at. Okay. So right off the get-go, we can see quite a bit of seasoning. We have our little green bits here. I'm guessing these bigger chunks here are beef chunks. Obviously, we can see a lot of rice in there. We can see the red peppers in there. Again, this from a dried standpoint here looks pretty promising. But like many dishes like this, the moment we add, oh, there's some peanuts right there. The moment we add the water is technically the first time that this has cooked together. So unlike some of the other meals that I've mentioned in the past where they've been cooked in small batches prior to being freeze-dried or dehydrated, so this is an actual full-on dehydrated meal right here. So this has like kind of the maximum amount of moisture that's been pulled out of it. So this is going to be the first time that it's cooking. It doesn't have the benefits of being, like, for example, good to go. I keep using them as a point of reference with some of these here because the meals are cooked in small batches prior. So you have all those flavors fused into everything that you're going to eat. But initial smell test, this smells absolutely delicious. The colors and visually, it looks fantastic. So now we are, I think I know why I'm not speaking correctly here because I keep salivating here. And this smells really good. I've only reviewed one of these meals. I think it scored a 24, which isn't bad, but it's not one of the best. So I'm really curious on how well this is going to taste here. As I've mentioned many times over, I'm not a sweet sort of fan when it comes to my food palate, but we're going to find out. So, as always, what I like to do is pour just a little bit in. And we're going to start that stirring process right up. And I just realized I brought the wrong spoon in here. And earlier I mentioned about the first meal that I tried of these folks was not hydrated properly. I think that's where they got a pretty healthy ding. And it just dawned on me here that this is a rice dish. Rice, for whatever reason, I have found out of, not just with this company, but many others, if there's something that's not going to be hydrated properly, it's usually the rice. But we're going to remain very optimistic about this. Wow. You know what's funny? The water almost mellowed the scent of this a little bit. It is not, which is really strange because usually the moment you go adding the water is really when the scents really blossom up. But you want to get a good stir as always, and that's going to ensure that you're getting, not to be Captain Obvious, but if you've never cooked one of these things before, it's important to stir it around because you want to get that moisture into every nook and cranny. And as you can see here, this has a resemblance of a very soupy soup. Now we're going to close this thing up and we're going to let this set. They said 10 to 12 minutes. We are definitely going to let this set for a full 12 minutes. And we'll cross fingers and hope that works well for us. So I'll see you back in a minute. One point I do want to clarify before we go diving into this here. When we were on that 12-minute intermission while this was cooking, I went to look at the last review that I did for Alpine, and that was actually AlpineAire. That was the grilled chicken, mushroom, wild rice pilaf, which again scored a 24. So I misspoke earlier when I said we gave it 3 extra minutes because I started thinking, I'm like, wow, why would I give extra time? In my notes on the scoring system, I recommended it could use probably another 2 to 3 minutes. So it had the recommended time, just as with this one, we didn't go over. So this has been, now I did let it cook for the maximum time that they're recommending, which is 12 minutes. So just wanted to clarify that. So we're going to crack this open. So the initial sniff test, again, I mean, it smells delicious, but it is not overpowering. You don't smell a lot of that spice in there. So you can see the initial look of it. We had all those chunks of beef up on the top. You know, actually, let's just pour this out here. Let's see if this is going to... All right, so here we go. Now, first look at this here. This doesn't look bad. I mean, this looks, again, when you're talking about freeze-dried meals and everything kind of thrown together, again, all the ingredients are thrown into the bag and it's cooking for the first time. There seems to be a very even flow or coverage of the sauce. You can see those little red and green bits of the various peppers and such. The chunks of beef, of course. It's funny, in the bag, they were kind of all rised up to the top. Once in the bowl here, everything's all kind of camouflaged and it disappears. So the thing that really stands out are the pieces of rice, the various red and green peppers, and then you have those occasional chunks of beef there. And there's some of the peanuts there. So visually it doesn't look bad. Again, from a scent standpoint, this is the disadvantage of some of the freeze-dried foods. You don't have as, you know, if you're in your kitchen and you're cooking something, or like the dehydrated meals, I find they have a little bit more of an aroma scent to them. There's a faint beef sweet smell and a little peanuts here, but it is not overpowering it at all. So again, visually it looks pretty good. And from a looking at the hydration standpoint, yeah, it looks like that 12 minutes did it good. But the big test, of course, is going to be as soon as we take a bite into this, which, let's get on it. From a hydration standpoint, I'm going to address that first because that was one of the areas that last time, I'm looking at right now, they scored a 3 on the hydration. Everything seems to be really well hydrated together. The rice, yeah, it's good. All right, let's unpackage some of the flavoring of what's happening right here. One of the first things that I'm noticing is definitely that soy sauce and peanut flavor. Initially, when I first started taking some bites, I was like, okay, the spice is a little bit there. The more I'm diving into this, I'm noticing there's a little bit more of a kick to this, which I really do like. Now, when you get a hold of the beef is some of the pieces I've noticed were a little spongy, but they have a really good beef flavor. Now, one of the things when you look at dishes like this that are being cooked or where all the ingredients are being introduced for the first time in a package like this, opposed to if you are making a soup or a porridge or something on your stove where things are simmering for quite a bit of time, and everything has this opportunity to kind of these flavors just explode together, shall we say. You're not able to see that here, so a lot of the flavors that you hear are very black and white, and I hope that makes sense. There's not a lot of depth to the flavors, and depth being where it's kind of overlapping into some of the other ingredients. There's actually a really nice texture to this. I like the peanuts add a little bit of a crunch. You have the rice in there, which is, again, perfectly hydrated. I think from a overall standpoint, from a Kung Pao beef, is this something that I would say, wow, this is fantastic? No, I will not. Is it something that I will say, yeah, will I get it again? Yeah, it was good enough. This will be something that I will probably get this again and have it for one of those days where I'm out in the field and I want just something a little different. I don't think it needs anything else from a spice standpoint. I think here's the thing that I think would do this well. Have it covered up and let it sit for a little bit. Let those spices kind of fuse together. I think you'd have magic occurring. And it does have some decent flavor. So let's take a look at the scorecard for the Kung Pao beef from AlpineAire. All right, friends, and there you go. Another freeze-dried meal in the bag. The Kung Pao beef from AlpineAire. This actually was pretty darn good. Now, is this going to be something that is going to end up in my trail? Yeah, I'll order it. I'll have it again in case for those days I want something just a little bit different. But friends, it's that time of the video where I'm going to be shutting off the cameras. Now, if you'd like to see some of the other reviews that we have done, I will put links down below. If there's a meal that you would like for us to give our 2 cents on, let me know in the comments down below. But that said, friends, hey, New Year's is right around the corner, so hey, you guys stay safe, and I will see you in either a video later on this week, or I'll see you in 2024.